Hello, everyone. Welcome to TalentEgg Talks. We're here to learn about Valet and their open innovation initiatives that work towards a sustainable future for our planet. My name is Mary Barroll, and I'm president of TalentEgg. Joining me from Valet is Renata Cardoso and Suzanne Balima. Renata is the technical leader of sustainability planning and development. Her role focuses on assessing challenges within the mining sector and providing low carbon solutions. We're also joined by Suzanne. Suzanne is the Open Innovation Expansion Lead. Suzanne acts as an innovation designer to provide creative ideas and initiatives to support Valet through their open innovation efforts. We're excited to hear from both of you today. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. I'm very glad to be here and hope this video will reach our future leaders.
Happy to be on board as well, especially as someone who used to read TalentEgg back in my university days. So thanks for having me.
That's wonderful, Suzanne. So Suzanne, I want to talk with you first. What does open innovation mean at Valet?
Yeah, so maybe I'll start off with talking about open innovation in general, which is an approach where we're breaking down the silos and the borders between entities. So in the past, it's been, you have a safeguarded secret, and that's your secret to moving forward, and you didn't want to share with anyone. But today, more and more, you'll see that people are open and transparent in the ways they want to tackle problems, taking different perspectives, and often those solutions lie outside the boundaries of your organization. So specifically within Valet, we run open innovation challenges. So right now, we're running one with a partner called NORCAT, and it's just been such a fantastic experience to be able to see different solutions coming from outside the organization, but also being faced with different ways that people solve problems, because it's the same problem we're putting out to the world, and different people coming in with different solutions that they think can solve that same challenge. I think it's very similar in that some universities are also starting to become more entrepreneurial. So DMZ in Ryerson, for instance, or Velocity in New Waterloo, which is looking to create that similar space of open and transparent environment where people come with their problems and different people can pitch in for a solution, and just coming together, sharing resources, sharing knowledge. I think it's very much what we're trying to do with open innovation at Valet as well.
So that diversity of ideas is actually a real benefit to the business.
Exactly, yeah.
And Renata, Vale is a mining company. How does sustainability play a role in this industry?
Yeah, this is a great question. How sustainability is a fundamental concept for extractive industry historically. In the past, it was more about managing our impacts and environmental impacts, social impacts, and we take the ore off the ground, right? And it would cause pollution. Then it evolved to compensating for the pollutions that we cause. And it's been a learning curve until now, as we see sustainability from a much broader perspective. It's more about balancing the economic results with the environmental, social, and governance aspects of what we do. It's about improving people's lives and transforming the future, respecting the planet, respecting the communities, and working together. How we operate right now matters as much as what we actually produce. Here in Canada, just to give an example, we produce nickel, copper, cobalt. Innovation runs on these base metals. They are needed to electrify our vehicles and to allow us to transition to renewable energies. They help create the future that we all want, and this is about what we produce. But how we do it, we are adopting new technologies to be more efficient, connected, reliable. We are investing to bring ethical and low carbon products to the market. We are also investing in partnerships that have local priorities in mind to generate and share value for the long run. And creating shared value is now part of our business strategy, which is very, very important. So sustainability plays a central role for Vale, and it's definitely gaining traction in the entire industry for sure.
That's so important to hear. Suzanne, what opportunities have you been involved in with the open innovation team at Valet, and how does it cross over into the sustainability aspect of the business?
Mm-hmm. So in terms of opportunities I've been involved in, there's been a few. Maybe one I'll highlight is the opportunity of being able to bring what we see out in the world into the organization, but also vice versa, sharing what we know with external partners. And so we run every month an international forum where we bring someone from, our innovation ecosystem. It could be a partner, it could just be someone that's interesting to come and talk about what they do in terms of innovation within their organization. And I was lucky to work with someone from NASA, an educator, and bring her in December to just learn about, how they approach innovation, some of the very cool work they've been doing, and just even bringing that mindset back internally, right? It's not just inspirational because I think most people who hear NASA think, wow, like you go beyond the boundaries of what is in our mind possible, right? So how do we bring that within and share that, and basically some of the tools and methods these partners bring in are things that we also try and encourage the workforce to continue using in their day-to-day. In terms of sustainability, we launched the COVID challenge, which you may or may not have seen on our website, sorry. Also, actually, one of the reasons that I joined Vale was to see that beyond mining, as Renata was saying, it's really about thinking of the bigger and the greater impact we can have within the community. I'll maybe also highlight that to me, so it was a global open innovation challenge. Anybody could participate and basically apply to the challenge. But the two Canadian companies that we moved forward with, one was a high school robotics group, which I think is pretty impressive. And they built a do-it-yourself kit, UV lighting, to help basically sterilize equipment. And a lot of this went to all sorts of different parts of the community. We had hospices, we had grocery stores, we had hospitals, and a few others. And so altogether, it was an impact of 6,000 people. So when I think about, the impact that my work can do beyond, mining, but even just beyond the company, it's really how we are making an impact around us as well in everybody else's life, I guess.
That's so exciting to hear, and what an opportunity. Renata, could you speak a little bit more about Vale's low carbon program?
Sure. This is what I have been doing for a while now, and it's my pleasure to talk about. Well, Vale's low carbon agenda started a long time ago in 2008, when we disclosed our first carbon emissions inventory for the first time and started publishing sustainability reports based on international standards. In 2012, we announced our first carbon goal, but it was not before 2019 that we actually decided to transform our business, announcing the new pact with society that includes a carbon goal that will reduce 1/3 of our emissions by 2030 and take us to net zero by 2050. So first thing, I think probably the most important way to start, we had a clear commitment and a public commitment. And then the work that it encompasses is massive and involves a lot of internal engagement, external engagement, as Suzanne mentioned. It has been a huge transformation for the company. And the second main condition, I think, is that our sites, our operations, they are learning together, regardless if they produce iron ore, copper, nickel, they are all in the same, agenda and program together to reduce our emissions. And a critical element here is that we have full support of the board of directors and executive leaders. And I think Suzanne would agree with me that for the open innovation as well, we have full support of our leadership, which really propels, the culture changes that we need to transform our industry, to transform the way we think. And we are now just, as we speak here, we are now mapping and implementing initiatives to switch the fuels that we use in our sites, to recover the heat that we waste in our processes, to electrify our equipment, to improve the energy efficiency everywhere. It's a very broad agenda. And to keep track of this progress, Vale created the internal low carbon forum that meets monthly and promotes accountability across the businesses and corporate functions. So we put together people from the strategy team, from the marketing team, from the finance team, and we have very interesting conversations. And just to add to that, the company also announced a minimum of $2 billion to support to implement the $2 billion to support to implement the 2030 goal to reduce 33%. And our job is now to work collaboratively, internally and externally, with suppliers, customers, peers, to accelerate the program and meet not only our own goals, but the industry goals.
That's such impressive progress for Vale. And I understand at Vale, it also has a program called MINE that stands for Mining Innovation for a New Environment. Suzanne, can you explain what the program is about?
Sure. So I'll mix and match what the program is and how it really works. So we have about, or had about 600 people apply and about 30 selected. So it's pretty competitive. And the whole idea is to pick challenges that align to strategic objectives for the company, which, as Renata was saying, get a lot of sponsorship from executive and executive support. And the whole idea is that these 30 participants that are selected are mixed and matched into teams of 3 to ensure that it is a multidisciplinary team. So again, going back to the idea of how do you mix and match, different ways of thinking, different ideas that different people could bring to the table. And through the program, we work with partners like MIT or Imperial College. We also have a few others that bring in not only educational content, but also professional development content around agile, technology skills, entrepreneurship, really anything they would need to build a solution around that challenge. The way I look at it is really like operating like a startup. You have a market problem and you're trying to find a solution fit. So it's iterative, it's quick, it has a lot of mentorship around to make sure that the people are equipped with the tools to build a solution. And so basically, as the program goes, they're learning more and more about the problem and working towards developing a minimum viable product, MVP, which is essentially, how can we test that this idea we had and we built is something we could implement. And for any solution that ends up being successfully tested, then it's something we embed it within Vale and implement. So pretty exciting opportunity. So at the end of it, you get a certificate. So, not only the knowledge, but also kind of like a tangible proof of being part of the program, opportunity to talk to, a whole diverse range of very smart people.
It sounds like such an exciting program. Renata, do you have any advice for students and new grads who would like to join the mining sector, but may be worried about environmental impact?
Yeah, this is a great question. And sometimes it's a challenge for us. But as I said before, things are changing and are changing very quickly, which is amazing. So, for instance, when I first joined Vale, I had no environmental or sustainability background from school. But just by working and learning with very capable professionals and understanding the company's values and drivers that were never there only for, production goals, I made my way to the very first sustainability team that this company put together in our headquarters in Brazil. So right now, I'm lucky enough to be part of the implementation of these very bold sustainability goals that we announced, we set to ourselves by the end of 2019 through the new pact with society that I mentioned, which is now one of the company's strategic pillars. So just to give you an idea, we'll reduce 10% of our specific use of new water by 2030. It's important to mention also that globally, we already reuse around 80% of the water that is needed for our operations. Our climate change goals, as I mentioned, we have the goal to reduce 33% our scopes 1 and 2 emissions by 2030, in line with the Paris Agreement, and become carbon neutral by 2050. We also just announced a goal for scope 3, which are those emissions that happen in our value chain, our suppliers and our customers. And we want to reduce that by 15% by 2035. Another very important goal that we announced that is also related to the environmental challenges that we are facing is around energy, where we are pursuing 100% clean power consumption in all jurisdictions where we operate. So I like to say that when we think about sustainability in mining, it's very good when we come to have and develop actually initiatives that represent a broader set of benefits, not only on carbon or on the social agenda specifically. And just to give one example, here in Canada, Vale is starting to electrify its underground fleet here in Canada, and we expect to have 40 battery electric vehicles underground by the end of this year. This is not only a carbon-driven solution, it's also going to improve underground health and safety conditions for our employees with better air quality and noise levels. So that's the kind of approach that we are developing because the leadership is supporting, and we are really pursuing, those kind of solutions that integrate several aspects of ESG and sustainability into something that can positively impact people's lives.
You mentioned ESG. Actually, I was going to ask you about that, Renata. I understand that acronym stands for Environment, Social, and Governance. What does that mean for Vale?
Well, ESG, yes, it's the new way that we call sustainability nowadays, because we really need to include not only sometimes, as you may have, this must be your perception, the overall perceptions. When we talk about sustainability, it's more about the environment. But actually, specifically for our industry, ESG is so important because it encompasses not only the environmental aspects of our work, but also the social aspects, because we don't choose where the resources are. We have to go there and build new projects wherever the resources are. And then when we do that, we get to know a different community. Right? We get to know people that we have never been in touch with before, probably, and we need to start working with them. So the social aspect of ESG is so important. And also the governance that is more about being transparent and complying with all regulations around the globe, and even creating our own internal policies and regulations, to be as much transparent and positive to the society as we can. And I like to talk a bit more about the social agenda in the ESG, because it's a very important component that it's not always discussed, but there's so much room to work. And I'm sure Suzanne is involved already with some open innovation initiatives in this area as well. The social agenda of a mining company must be about doing what is best for the specific communities that we touch with our operations and projects. We are a global company, and of course, the needs of the communities we are in Canada will differ from the needs of the communities we are in Indonesia and in Brazil. So when it comes to the social agenda, our objective is to make sure that we contribute to the communities through a more systemic approach, understanding their complexities and demands, the local risks and opportunities for them, for us, for everybody that is around, and then based on actively listening to what they need, we together with the communities, we prioritize the areas to work together, such as health, education, income generation, where are the areas that we can contribute more. And they are all linked to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So we are always, everything that we do with communities, we will measure the results based on the sustainable development goals from the United Nations. And to make sure that this work with the communities will succeed, we also partner with other relevant stakeholders in the areas, such as government, NGOs, other companies, because it's always good to collaborate with companies that are already there or are coming because we are there. And this is another thing here in Canada. One of the most important contributions, social contributions from Vale, is that as we go to operate in regions that are sometimes remote, we can promote job generation, and we can also promote local suppliers and train them and develop educational tools to get them into the industry and improving their lives and promoting sustainable development there.
Well, I'd like to sort of come full circle then and then ask you how open innovation is helping drive Vale's sustainability goals. Suzanne, perhaps you could go first and then Renata could follow.
Sure. So in terms of open innovation, one of the pillars, if I may call it that, is social innovation. And so as Renata was mentioning, it's a lot of, identifying communities we're part of, embedded in, and how can we help this community become self-sustaining and have economic empowerment of their own without dependency necessarily on Vale, for instance. So there's a lot of education programs, but also a lot of partnering with institutions within these areas, but also, anywhere else. So to bring back maybe the NASA example, the person we were speaking to was an educator. And if you connect the dots, there's a lot in what they do that we could leverage to, work with different communities that we work with. So it's also the idea of, mapping out the needs and the connections we have and seeing how we can bring to the table solutions specific to those different communities that we're working with.
And Renata, maybe your perspective on this?
Yeah, I think Suzanne covered everything, but I would just complement by saying that definitely open innovation is contributing in so many fronts, but it's a clear driver for the company to be able to accelerate the deployment of technology solutions in partnerships, either for the low carbon agenda or for the development of new business ideas for the communities that we are embedded in. It's fostering our thinking out of the box, as I like to say, and accelerating our progress towards our goals.
Well, it's wonderful to learn about how Vale is focusing on open innovation and sustainability to create a better world for us all. Unfortunately, that's all the time that we have for today. Renata and Suzanne, do you have any final thoughts for students and new grads? Suzanne, perhaps you can start?
Sure. So as maybe someone, I started Vale about 6 months ago now with zero mining background. So I encourage you, and I think Renata mentioned it, in the previous question where she didn't have any background in sustainability. I didn't have any background in mining, but there's just so much opportunity to find your way, but also just learn from the industry and find your space as well. So don't be shy, apply, connect with people that, you see have an interesting profile within the company. And yeah, check out our website if you want to learn more, because this was a very compressed version of what we're able to do, but there's definitely a lot more information on the website.
And Renata, any advice for students and new grads?
Yeah, I think, thank you so much for this opportunity, Mary, to talk about what we do here. And we really appreciate your time, students that are here, and for our students that are listening in and are considering a career at Vale, check out our ESG portal. It's vale.com/ESG to learn more about our sustainability efforts across the business. And please keep in touch if you want.
Well, thank you both again. It's been wonderful talking to you. And to our audience, you can learn more about Vale and their opportunities for students and grads on talentegg.ca. This video will be available on TalentEgg's YouTube channel and on our social media. So don't forget to subscribe and follow us for more TalentEgg Talks. Thanks again for watching and see you next time.